right here. I am Choma Izimafo, and it's really good to be back after the whole. Should I call myself? I went on August break. Okay, just like the rains are back, I am back, and we're talking figures again. Thank you so much for joining me. It's a very interesting time that's come upon us today, looking at the 21st day in the month of August. It's really running. Well, it's time to untangle the complexities of the business world. How are you doing? How is the money in your pocket? How has it been for you? More especially, has the internet been for you? I'm asking that question because it's been interesting this month, hasn't it? When it comes to internet connections. For even the really favorite ones, they didn't exactly perform the way we thought they were going to, did they? So today, let's talk possibility of improving internet connectivity in Nigeria. Yes, what's the possibility of improving internet connectivity in Nigeria by 70% in 2025? Yes, where did I get that from? Of course, you know the National Broadband Plan, which is from 2020 to 2025, set quite an ambitious target. They are aiming for 70% broadband penetration and 90% population coverage by 2025. And the last time I checked, we're less than 6 months into this year of 2025. So, how are we doing when it comes to getting there? How are we doing when it comes to improving internet connectivity? Covering 90% population coverage. Is it even possible? Let's look at that, because to achieve this goal, we understand that there are some challenges to overcome, from infrastructure to money. The financial barriers are there. Let's know and let's see what's being done. Lots of conversation has been, we've looked at this, not on the show, but the conversation has actually been on a touch of here and a touch of there, especially the one about Elon Musk. Yes, the billionaire Elon Musk bringing his internet company to set up their ground station in some cities in Port Harcourt, or rather in Nigeria, and Port Harcourt is one of the cities where this ground station will be located. Quite interesting news when I saw that story, and you can go read it up. I think it's on Nairametrics that I saw that story, and it got me thinking, if can that change the game? Can that get the federal government anywhere close to this goal of 70% broadband penetration? If we have ground stations, those ground stations are like, let me call them data center of ish, where the connection, instead of connecting to international data centers, we connect right here in Port Harcourt. I mean, Elon Musk knows Port Harcourt. Does anybody feel like that? Especially for business owners, how can that change the way you do business if you're in River State, if you're in Port Harcourt? And then that's actually not the only one coming. To Africa project is a subsea cable connecting 3 continents and about 33 countries in Africa, including Nigeria. And is actually the world's longest submarine cable, and is expected to connect about 1.3 billion people and deepen 4G and 5G internet penetration to more remote locations. And Nigeria is one of them. Yes, the subsea cable owned by 2 Africa consortium led by Meta has now reached the shores of Nigeria through Lagos and Akwa Ibom states. The Akwa Ibom landing location, which is managed by Main One, is at Ibeno, and Philo suggests Rivers and Akwa Ibom states are the main focus for now. That's an article I got from, I think Uche Aniche put it on TechCabal. That's the convener of Startup South. And I saw that, and it was quite interesting when you add it to the mix of the question I'm asking today, the possibility of improving our internet connection, or rather, in Nigeria by 70% in 2025. And I have a guest joining me as I ask this question. But before I talk about my guest, I would like you to know that we are live on Facebook and YouTube at Nigeria Info PH. Yes, you can share your thoughts with me. You can even start with telling me how the internet has been for you since this month. Let's just start with from the 1st of August. From the 1st of August till date. So the last 21 days, how has the internet been for you? Have you been able to do what you wanted to do? Or it's been, tell me. Because the big question for us on the show today is, what's the possibility of improving internet connectivity in Nigeria by 70% in 2025? Yes, I have my guest joining me. He's a tech journalist and he's joining me in the studio to make sense of all this. He writes for TechCabal, and in the month of May, his article looked at this 2025 goal of the federal government and challenges ahead. And so let's see what he has to say now that these fresh developments I talked about earlier, like the 2 Africa, that's a subsea cable, and the ground station that Elon Musk is bringing to cities, including in Port Harcourt. Let's see how, when you throw that in the mix, how does that change what he saw in May, or what he had to say in his article in the month of May. Let's see what he has to say now with these fresh developments. Yes, Frank Eleanya of TechCabal joins me from Lagos. Thank you so much, Frank, for making time for this. Are you there? Frank, can you hear me? Come on now, Frank. Come on. Did I open the right feeder? Hello, Frank, can you hear me? Okay, so I'll need you to speak if you can. He says yes. Music, not letting you hear anything. What music? Can you hear me now? I think you can just go ahead and speak. If you speak, we can hear you. Okay, we'll sort out all of that out, but I think we should just do the main call. How about that? Do the normal call. Let's do the normal call. All right, so we'll be back. Give me a minute. Okay, let's do the normal call. Let's call Frank to the normal call. I was hoping for WhatsApp, but somehow it's not, I'm not able to hear him. So let's try the normal call. Frank, can you hear me now? Okay, so let's try it a minute and then we'll be back. Stay tuned. Joins me now on Talking Figures. Frank, you can hear me, right? Frank, you can hear me, right? What's going on?
I think the music that okay.
Boy, I can actually hear you very well. Can you hear
If
me
that
now?
music can go off, I can hear you.
Music. There's no music. Is it parara parara that you're hearing? Is it that one? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Better.
Okay. All right. So this Okay, so yeah, it's good to have you here. Welcome to Talking Figures on 92.3 Nigeria Info FM. And we have just very short while to delve into, do the tradition of the show, which is to look at the big stories in business before we go over to look at the big topic of today. I already introduced it before you joined us, talking about internet connectivity, the possibility of having 70% penetration of a network or internet by
Yeah,
2025, which is less than 6 months. So we'll look at all of that after we look at the big stories. Are you ready for the big stories, which is our tradition on Talking
I am
Figures?
ready.
Awesome. Very quickly now, let's look at the first story here, looking at the face-off between the police and the NLC. That's the leadership of Nigeria Labour Congress. You know, labor is still business, right? Especially when they say
Yeah,
they
of
want
course.
to go on
Perfect.
strike. A nationwide strike is looming. I'm talking from Tuesday next week. There could be a strike. And that's
Yeah.
because they are saying that the police has to do with the invitation of the NLC president by the police. What do you think?
I think that it- there might be more nuance to all of that. We don't have the full picture of why the NLC president was invited and why the police decided they were going to keep him in custody. And I think it's also a function or a consequence of the issues that we have in the policing in the country, where you don't get to hear the sides or as in everything that happened. The police is usually very scanty with the information, and that doesn't help many times when you want to know what exactly someone is being kept for, so that often leads to this accusation of um,
Witch
police
hunting?
brutality,
Yeah.
yeah, police overhandedness or high-handedness, sorry. So it doesn't help. There needs to be more information from the police.
Well,
Why are
they've
you keeping
said,
a
Frank, they've
man that should
said
have been released?
terrorism charges. They've said terrorism charges, financing terrorism. That's enough. That's enough clue if you ask some people, But then let's look at how this is going to disrupt business activities by next
Well,
week.
can you still hear me? The music is back. Okay.
Okay, but I can hear you. Go on.
Okay, so if you have been looking or observing lately, most of the charges that the police have labeled on people these days have been about terrorism charges and all of that. So there just needs to be something better than say somebody's being charged for how did you arrive at terrorism charges? There needs to be some context to your charges that, oh, terrorism charges. There needs to be some context to that. It looks as if you can just throw that, and then because of that, you then lock somebody up and then throw away the key. I don't think that's enough to allow the man to stay over the stipulated period that he's supposed to stay in custody.
Interesting. Now, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll look at the petrol situation in Nigeria, especially. I know in Lagos they was hit by it, and then NNPC is saying a lot of things as well. We'll look at that after this break, and then when we come back, we'll look at that. We'll also look at the Data Protection Commission and the bank they are finding. Find out if it's your bank, and then we'll see what that's all about and how it affects you if you're listening to me right now. Stay tuned. We'll have a very interesting conversation coming on Talking Figures today. And I say it again, it's good to be back. Stay tuned. After this break, we'll continue the talk. Frank, let's go on a break.
No problem.
Nigeria info. Before that break, our guest Frank Eleanya of TechCabal was looking at the big stories with me, and we had just looked at the what was that again now? Yes, the face-off the police seems to be having with the leadership of the NLC and the possibility of a strike by Tuesday next week. And now we're back from this break, and I'm wondering, what is the situation when it comes to petrol in Lagos at the moment, Frank? Are you still there? Can you now hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So what's the situation when it comes to petrol in Lagos?
Oh, well, a lot of queues every police station that you get to, and it's also causing traffic virtually every corner of the state.
Like Lagos, that is capital of traffic, and then being complicated.
Then you now come out, you can imagine.
I don't want to be there right now. Anyway, the Nigeria National Petroleum Limited has confirmed that the federal government incurred a debt of 5.1 trillion naira in under recovery and energy security expenses for fuel importation in 2023. I can't even imagine what it will be this year. And yet we have this recurring decimal happening again. What runs through your mind when you hear stories like this?
Oh, so I think I read a story and I shook my head again because it boils down to the same thing about lack of transparency in the NNPC. If you go through the item, you'll find that they mentioned that they use $1 billion of that money, 1 billion actually, out of that money to fund the refinery, the Port Harcourt and the Warri refinery. And you and I are aware of how many deadlines they have given us of when the refineries are going to come up mainstream. Of course, just some weeks back, we heard that the deadline they gave for this year was never going to happen. It's not that I'm surprised. I already knew that everything they were saying was a lie. You know, it then boils down to how, as in, where is that money? What exactly did you use that money for? And aside from just that money alone, there was $2 billion, $2 billion that was allocated. $2 billion that was allocated. Let me just find it. So several things.
Okay. Hello, Frank. I was hoping he would wrap up and then would look at the next story. He was just looking at the money spent by the NNPC and incurring a debt of 5.1 trillion in under recovery and energy security expenses for fuel importation in 2023. And he was just giving a breakdown of that before we had that interruption. I mean, if you remember that the topic today is internet connectivity, that means you have to really come close, because all of these disruptions, are we going to really have a country one day where there will be no internet disruptions? If you click send, it actually goes and doesn't start dancing in front of you. You know, what is it that is going to make it possible? That's actually a big story for today. And we're just going to wrap up the big stories with Frank before we look at the big stories in the world of business before we look at the big topic. Okay, and so we're doing a quick market watch before we look at the insider tips, like we call it here on Talking Figures. And so I'm trying to get him back, and I hope the internet would allow me, because today we're talking the internet. Do not show us how bad it is. Just cooperate, work with me, and let's have a conversation. Yes, do not forget that we're live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube at Nigeria Info PH. Yes, you can also drop your messages on WhatsApp. 0809-030-6416. That's a WhatsApp number. Yes, you can drop your messages there if you have thoughts on what you think about the federal government target. Ambitious one, I've called it, of giving us a coverage, internet network coverage by 2025, 90% population coverage by 2025, and 70% broadband penetration Is that even possible? Considering that 2025 is now less than 6 months away. 0809-030-6416. That's the number, WhatsApp number that you can drop your messages. Do not call that number. Just drop your messages there. And I'll be opening phone lines in a bit. And before that, we'll also be reading your messages as well. Yes. And we are also on X. That's former Twitter. I would like to get your thoughts. If you're on X, we're there at Nigeria Info PH as well, but we are live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube. The question is the possibility of an internet improvement. Can it improve? You've experienced it this August, and I've asked your experience in the last 21 days, which is this August. You've experienced it. Do you think we stand the chance of experiencing a better network internet connection in less than 6 months, which is the target of the federal government to give us population coverage, meaning that more areas are going to have internet coverage? More importantly, how does this change the game for business owners? How will it change the game for startups? How will it change the game for freelancers? How will it change the game for the entire ecosystem, the tech ecosystem, or the business industry, or the business space? This is a conversation that I'm really looking forward to having. My guest, Frank Eleanya of TechCabal, he wrote an article. Let's see, he wrote an article about looking at the possibility. That was in May. But then there's been a new mix. I shared that earlier. The Elon Musk internet companies called Starlinks, they're bringing their ground station, more like a data center of some sort, into cities in Nigeria. And Port Harcourt is one of them. Port Harcourt is one of the cities where this ground station will be situated. How can that change the game here? And then we have the subsea cable of Meta. Meta is bringing their subsea cables to run through Akwa Ibom, through Lagos and Akwa Ibom states. And the Akwa Ibom landing location is managed is managed by Main One, and it's suggesting that Rivers and Akwa Ibom states are the main focus for now. So if we have these two big projects, and if you read further, if you read these two, there are two different articles, by the way. One is on Nairametrics, one is on TechCabal, written by Uche and Nietzsche, and then the article by Frank Eleanya. When you look at all of these articles and bring them together, it begs the question, the possibility of all of this. We look at what the government is doing, we look at what individual companies are doing, and how that impacts on business. Frank, thank you for it's good to have you back.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, I understand. Network and all of things that come with it, which is why we're having this conversation. So because of time, we'll have to wrap up the Market Watch and just get into the insider tips. And I've kind of laid the background. Okay. I'm just going to allow you to talk to me about the article that you did in May. What was the thing that stood out from doing the research and doing that article in the month of May?
So it's essentially that Nigeria has a lot of capacity when it comes to internet infrastructure. Currently, we have about 8 submarine cables. To Africa just landed some few months ago around March. So it brought the number of submarine cables to about 8. So, and out of that, what we're supposed to be getting from the submarine cables is around 100 terabytes of net. But currently, we are barely using less than 15% of that capacity. The issues are many, all right? You talk to operators in the market, they keep telling you how they are not making investments because the environment is not attractive enough for them to make the kind of investment that they want to make. It might interest you to know that investment in capital in infrastructure dropped significantly in 2022 to around $399 million. That was from over $700 million. All right. Okay. And that was also from a peak of about $1.2 billion that was recorded in 2020. So that's where we're coming from. Now, if you look at that and then you look at the demand in the market, we have around 216 million mobile lines that needs to be connected, all right, that are connected to the to broadband or something, So everybody wants to connect to something, but the infrastructure that powers that connectivity are currently not sufficient to give us the quality that all of us need. The government has programs for AI, has programs for digital economy, but you can't effectively make that happen if the infrastructure is not strong enough or is not resilient enough to carry or to bring out the kind of innovations that you want to bring out. There are a lot of tech startups that have come into the market, but a major challenge that all of them have is that internet connectivity is very, very low. And at March, broadband penetration was around 43%. And I can assure you that if the new numbers come out for April, it will not cross 43%. If it goes up, maybe around 44%, but I don't think it will get up to 44%.
I agree with you.
And we have a target.
Yeah, go on. Can you hear me, Frank? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah, go on.
All right. So if we have a target of 70%, okay, to achieve by 2025. If you remove 43% that we're currently or that we currently have, 43% internet penetration that we have, the deficit we have left is around, say, 27%, to achieve in less than 6 months. Then if you go back now to antecedents of how we have gotten to this 43%, you'll find that it is nearly impossible for us to get to that 70% in 6 months. There's no magic that's going to make it happen.
Yeah.
But then it's where you then expect government to put a lot of pressure or a lot of priority on these aspects of growing the economy. You want to have a robust economy. You cannot do that without technology. You can't do that without the infrastructure that powers that technology. So you need to give a lot of attention to it, because right now, everything that we do, all of us depend mostly on technology, not mostly, entirely on technology. You're talking about education, you're talking about healthcare, you're talking about whatever it is that you're talking about, everything depends now on technology. How fast can you leverage that technology is how fast you can grow your economy. FDC, that's Financial Derivatives Corporation or company, have this new report is that 1% decline in investment in infrastructure or telecom infrastructure is 1% decline in their GDP contribution. So it is high time that we start seeing
Okay. I was going to ask him about the Starlink's ground stations and the 2 Africa subsea
power the
cable.
digital economy. So that's essentially what the article was talking about.
Okay, interesting. How do you see this Starlink ground station when you throw that into the mix of all of what you just explained, and the 2 Africa subsea cable and their plans for this region especially, what do you think, you just predicted that it's not looking feasible, that a 70% population coverage, or rather broadband penetration, would happen in 6 months. But if you throw in these 2 developments, what do you think? Does it get anywhere close at least?
So I think it's a good thing. What we are beginning to see from Starlink, before now it was that they were somewhere in the US and just giving us this satellite internet, although they had some partners that were working here with in Nigeria. But then if you wanted to address issues if you were a customer, you wanted to address issues, you couldn't get to them, quickly enough physically. You couldn't get to them physically. You can get to them online, and they are quick to respond. Yes, but what has happened now is that they're trying to lay a physical footprint in the country, and I think that has a lot of benefit in terms of the quality of the service that they are going to supply to Nigerians. Don't forget, everybody said that Starlink's speed is crazy. It is great and all that. But some of us believe that it is because there's not enough people that are on that network yet. They don't have up to 50,000 people there yet. If you are planning for, say, 1 million subscriber market, you need a lot more robust infrastructure. You need to be physically present. You need a lot of things put in place for you to be able to do that. Because once 1 million people get on your network, there's pressure on that network. The speed begins to reduce. So yes, begins to drop. I think that's what they're trying to fix right now with the groundwork that they're trying to do now, with all the facilities they're trying to build. How fast they're going to do that, nobody knows. But they have a lot of ambition. They've got a lot of money as well, and they have big ambitions for the market. They've seen the potential, and I think that they are quite incentivized by the potential. But then also, I'm concerned that let the Nigerian factor not happen to them eventually and slow their pace, and also drop or maybe discourage them from what they're trying to build. I'm seeing them going beyond just the 5 that they're trying to build right now. They might do more. What that is going to do is that it's going to open up the space for rural dwellers to also be on the internet space. Right now, that hasn't been the case, and is going to also, it's just going to bridge the gap. It's just going to bridge the gap with digital inequality that we have currently. What the and that's what the market needs, and that's what businesses need. To thrive in Nigeria today.
Interesting. Now let's open the phone lines and see what Port Harcourt or the people listening to me right now think about this. Yes, 0817-923-0002 is the number that you can call. We're asking, what's the possibility of improving our internet connection in Nigeria by 70% in 2025? That's what the federal government is hoping to do. A lot has happened. The challenges are real, but is it still possible? We have, in less than 6 months, we'll be in 2025. So is it possible to achieve 70% broadband penetration, which we believe can increase internet connectivity? Is that even possible to achieve? The phone lines are open, 0817-923-0003. You can also call 0817-923-0007. Is this line blinking for me? Let's see.
Hello.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Welcome to Talking Figures.
Okay. The title of the song. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go on. I can hear you.
The title of the song, I think, is multi-dimension.
Okay. You have to call again. This is Talking Figures, and we're talking figures, not music.
Okay.
Okay, 0817-923-0002 is a number that you can call to be part of the conversation. We're looking at the internet. What's been your experience this month, in the last 21 days? Where have you been? Like, are you in the rural or the urban area? And then I would like you to tell me what your experience has been when it comes to using the internet. Hello, good afternoon.
Okay, I thought the studio name. I wanted to call to studio live or live
Yes.
program.
Yes, which of the stations? This is Nigeria Info. This is the live studio.
Cool FM.
Okay, no, this is Nigeria Info. All right, so 0817-923-0003 is also the number that you can call to talk about the internet connectivity as we have seen it, experienced it this month. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Oh, yes. Good afternoon.
Yeah, you're welcome to Talking Figures.
Thank you so much. My regards to the
Okay.
The little observation I want to make is that we live in a country where a system of government will come up and give you figures and deadlines. And at the end of the day, they will not even do 50% of their figure. And when you ask, they will tell you they are doing estimated. And that's their defense. You and I can agree with me that we've had series of promises. Like your guest mentioned, our refinery is nowhere to be found. This is the kind of government we have. 6 good times. So how do you expect me to believe you in this angle? We've had series of this kind of promises, and Nigerians will keep hoping, keep praying that this thing should come to bear. But at the end of the day, we will not even see 50% of it. If they can do it, all of us will be happy. Businesses will at least will increase their revenue. But I know nothing of this nature is coming to anywhere. I can beat my chest and tell anybody who cares to listen. They just want to help for themselves. This money will be allocated and to be shared.
All right, thank you for your thoughts there. I have Clement from NTA Row joining us here. Welcome to Talking Figures.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Well, I've been listening, and I must say, I want to speak on the internet penetration.
Go ahead.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. First, you asked about how has the internet been in the month of August. Now, let me use that one and tie it to the new development that is to come to happen. Remember that at the first of this month, that the internet was down, and a lot of people tied it to the protests that happened at that time.
Yeah.
You know, how that government wants to use the internet to maybe press down or for the voices of people not to be heard, especially outside the shores of Nigeria. Now, if I want to tie it to a businessman, like you are a businessman, and you want to bring in something like this into Nigeria, in a country that it is that where politics is like a fiber in the blood or in the body of people. They breathe, they sleep, they think. Everything they do is tied to politics. Now, for business, for an investor to invest such a money, you know, the person want to think twice, you know, except we have people who will remove politics from business and then say, okay, let's give an environment for people to come and strive and do something. And not use politics and relate it to one private man's business, and then you want the man to start crying home because you cannot provide the people who want to partner the businessman. And for the businessman, you are collecting tax, you know. So if government will just rise up and then look at, yes, it's good to collect tax, but let the environment be enabled for them to come and do business, and not they are using politics, protest. You know, if you give the people good service, why will you come and protest and then you remove internet for their voice to be heard? So for me, it's a good innovation, and that is a call for the youth as well. Programs like this is, okay, if this thing comes on board, how will I benefit from it? Because things are changing. The world, Nigeria is up there, you know, but we know that there are countries that we look up to where technology is concerned. And if you are not there, you are not there.
Yeah.
Like they will say, if you didn't do, you didn't do. Thank you.
All right, Clement from NTA, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts quite extensively there. Frank, I'm sure you can't hear my callers, but I'm going to ask you because he touched on it a little bit, talking about taxes. If one of the plans is to shelve taxes for telcos, is that correct? One of the, reintroduction of 5% telecom service tax. What impact might that have on telecom operators and the ability to expand internet access?
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked that because currently the operators in the market, that's the telecom operators, they pay the number of taxes that they pay currently is at 54 taxes. That's what they pay. So that's a lot of pressure for just one business to pay 54 taxes. So different. It can be levies. The federal government has a separate number of taxes that it collects. The state governments have a separate number of taxes that it collects under, all of them captured under that 54. Then the local government also come with their own levies and all manner of fees that they levy on the telecom operations. I know that just recently the one I heard was in Bielsa. In Bielsa, there was a new levy that they call Telecom Landlords Association. So people who telecom masts are built in their compound decided to form their own union, and then they levy the tax on that. So that's aside from the money that the telecom operator has already paid. So there's an additional fee that they charge telecom operators.
That's
so
a lot of pressure.
That's yeah.
I said that's a lot of pressure. Yeah.
A lot of pressure, yes. So what that means is that often when the telecom operators resist in paying these taxes, what happens next is that the people who are in charge of these taxes will either cut their fiber or deny them access to their locations. Currently, as at 2024, they've experienced about 25,000 fiber cuts. 25,000 fiber cuts. Of course, you know that once you cut one fiber, you have denied a lot of people service within a geographical location.
Yeah.
So that operator will have to go there, deploy the engineers. They will go there. First of all, they will negotiate with whoever the person is that cut the fiber. After that, they will take the fiber. It will cost them to buy a replacement.
Maybe they've cut the fiber that's connecting this one to the station. I don't know. Anyways, the phone lines are still open. We're going to go on a short break in a bit while we wait for Frank to connect to get back here. Let's go to WhatsApp now. I have a WhatsApp message from Mal 3. Okay, Frank is back. Go on.
Okay, so denying them access.
All right. So
for a lot of communities, so it
that's why our conversation today is very important, because the internet cannot be doing this on live radio. Anyways, Asetiloka, I don't know if I got that name correctly. You sent this message from Mal 3 and you're saying
you are tuned in